All right, call this meeting to order. This is the second meeting of the Charter Review Commission. If you all in attendance will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So we are going to discuss 3 items today, and then we'll set a meeting at the end of this meeting for the review. So if I could get a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Thank you. Motion approved and seconded. Please vote. All right, pass 7-0. All right, the first item is Section 33, prohibition of compensation of elected officials. What I will do is read the employee comments, and then I have some comments. Ms. Neighbors could not make it. She's in Colorado this week. She said that she passed along some comments and asked if I would read them. The one that she has for this is, I believe City Council should have a form of pay for the time and effort each member puts in. We are one of the only cities that I know that does not pay their council in some form, whether it be salary or benefits. I have a table of surrounding counties and cities for reference that she can provide, didn't provide it. All in, the city pays roughly $200,000 a year for their salaries and benefits, which is immaterial to the total budget, but means so much to our council members for their service. I provided 2 options, and I'll go over those in a minute. I also believe the council member does not believe in getting paid, but they have the right to deny both. That's if they choose not to take the insurance. I'm sorry. That was her comments. Hers 2 options. An elected official receive reimbursement for expenses actually incurred in the performance of his or her duties. This is hers. That's the first option. Additionally, an elected official should be able to participate in city's health care plan mirroring the employee contribution. Option 2 is an elected official should receive compensation of a predetermined amount approved by City Council monthly and should be able to participate in the city's health care plan mirroring the employee contribution amount. That was the comments that she had made previously. Chief Beige said an elected official should only receive reimbursement for expenses actually incurred in the performance of their duties and be able to join the city's health care plan by paying the employee contribution amount. See that he's not here, so won't be questioned. Ms. Barnes said that no elected official shall receive compensation in the form of salary. However, elected officials shall be eligible for health insurance, pay their portion of the premium of the plan selected in the same manner as other city employees. As an elected official opts out of the health insurance plan, they shall receive payment for the equivalent value of the lowest cost plan available to employees. I don't think there'd be any questions about that. Pretty straightforward. So here's what I'm going to do. Did you have a comment?
Not at all.
Unless you guys deer in the headlight look. I was just kind of. All right. So what we're going to do, gentlemen, and everyone else, I'm going to kind of waive Robert's rules here for this item for real briefly. Because what I think we should do, instead of trying to make motions and come back and do that, what I want to do is we're going to go around. Each person states what they think about this briefly within 2 minutes and why they think that. I'll start as an example. My company has been in the sports management business for a long time, for 30 years. And in sports events management, they use a lot of volunteer work. I never did that. I pay all my employees. because they get paid, they work harder. It's just that simple. They have a different outlook on it. I don't pay as much as they may make in their civilian life, but they do, they get paid. I believe that also the city council should be paid, and that they should receive the same benefits as the other employees. Mr. Peters.
So my thoughts on this are, when you try to hire people for a job, you want to hire the best candidate. I think if you are asking for volunteers, I think it shrinks the pool. I don't think you would be getting the best candidates year in and year out when elections happen. I did a little bit of, the majority of the people meet once a month. Laura Hill, Mary Esther, Niceville, Shalimar, Valby.
So let's just stop you right there. This is just, we're just going through what we think.
Yeah.
When we get ready to have a motion, then we'll go through the actual debate itself.
I do believe that the city council should be, receive health insurance and some type of supplement as well.
Mr. Smith.
I believe that it should be a volunteer council, and I think there are plenty of other councils that do the same thing. I just think that's going to give the best result for the voters.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Taylor.
I believe that being on a council is one of the most important functions in the city. And I believe that they should be compensated to some degree, because they put in a significant, I don't have to tell you guys, I mean, they put in a significant amount of time. I did some ciphering, and I stopped at well over 100 hours a month on just a few meetings and some public events, things like that. Like I said, it's a time-consuming job. Getting elected to the council, you may have to miss work. Sometimes that means missing wages, things like that. Exactly. So I'm in support of some compensation.
Okay. Mr. Beatty.
I also believe they should be compensated to some extent, whether it be a stipend, and they can use a stipend towards insurance or towards reimbursing their expenses. But I think having a volunteer pool is going to severely limit the candidate pool that will run for council.
Mr. Calderon.
I would agree on a small stipend. I wouldn't agree on stipend plus health insurance. I don't think anyone's doing this for the $500 a month or whatever that dollar amount is, but it is time consuming. The residents voted against giving any compensation, so I guess we'd have to go to another vote on that, but that's where I stand there. I don't know how you would calculate the actual expenses of me driving over here, once or twice a week, or whatever that comes to. So the small stipend would at least compensate for, your printer and your paper and all that kind of stuff that you're using for this job.
Thank you. Mr. Holmes.
I also agree that there should be some kind of stipend reimbursement, whatever wording needs to be used. I think from what I've seen in my experience, it does improve the quality of applicants. But I don't think anybody that's ever set up here has done it for that reason to start with. I think in most cases it was something that was an afterthought, a second thought. And I think they should be considered a city employee and entitled to the same benefits that all city employees, and nothing really different. Whether it be in the charter or either an ordinance or statute, that I think would be where the discussion should be, is how that's come about, and not put the council in the position of making the decision on the amounts.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for your thoughts real quick. That kind of gives us a little bit of common ground. Ms. Barnes, tell me how the city council pay is determined now. I didn't see it in the charter. So how is that? How is council pay? Not as per the new charter, but the old charter.
Right. In 2007, the IRS treated the allowance. They said the allowance must be treated as wages subject to Social Security and Medicare. So it is paid as wages now. it was taken out of it was done by ordinance starting in 78, and the amounts were set back then by ordinance as well. And then at a special council meeting in 97, the amounts went up closer to the range that they are now. And then in 99, and we pieced together a lot of this, so just
Right.
kind of trying to figure it out, thanks to Nick, who did a lot of this research. It became a part of the budget. So there is not an ordinance that set the salary. It turned into a budget ordinance that was approved, and it attached the details as part of the package.
Okay.
So it's basically been by ordinance via the budget.
Okay, thank you. All right, take a deep breath. I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion, hold it simple, to eliminate section 13
33.
as written.
It's 33.
33, I'm sorry.
Second.
All right, Mr. Holmes has made the motion to eliminate section 33, and Mr. Taylor has seconded it. Mr. Holmes?
Basically, you know, again, as I ran a while ago, I think there should be some compensation. I think it needs to be spelled out in some manner, whether it's done in a charter item or an ordinance. And also, I think there needs to be some kind of methodology to create an amount. I don't think that should be an onus, you know, sitting up here, the council member saying, okay, this is how much you need to pay us. I don't know if there's a, you know, can I ask a question?
Of who?
Either Ms. Barnes or Ms. Cobb.
Yes.
How is the,
Wait, Robert rules. Go ahead, ask your question.
I lost my train of thought.
Not surprising. All right.
How is the county commissioners per diem or whatever set?
We know that county commissioners are paid a salary under state law, and the state law actually provides what the salary is going to be. That does not happen for municipalities.
And just, if I may to speak, my train of thought is whatever the dollar amount is decided, you figure out that it's a percentage of what they get. And then if the state changes their payment or wage, whatever we want to call it, then it mirrors that whether it goes up or down.
Okay, so just to remind you, Mr. Holmes, your motion is to remove this section. If we want to replace it with something else, we'll do that with another motion and how that will happen. Would someone like to speak against this motion?
I will.
I thought so.
Well, in just this last November, so just a few months ago, 73% of the voters, of the registered voters, showed up, and there was 9,646 votes out of the 13,210 registered voters showed up and voted, and 53.58% of those voters voted to put this in the charter. So I don't see how we can sit up here and, you know, go against the will of the voter.
Someone like to speak for this motion?
I'd like to kind of counter the last statements that they're going to get a second shot at it. And I think they'll be better informed after this committee if they pay attention. Be better informed at the committee about the pros and cons or the negative consequences or whatever there might be. Asked you a question. You said there could be a second motion.
There possibly might be.
Okay. If we can vote to eliminate this, we could make another motion to rework.
Replace it.
Okay, yes. Then I'll reserve any further comments.
Anyone else? Let's vote. Second time. All right. Yes, so the motion passes 4-3, and I voted no because I thought we'd replace it that way. Now, we can replace this section 33 if that is something brought up by Mr. Taylor that you wish to do. I'll entertain a motion to replace this with something else. Mr. Taylor.
Do I have to be specific with what we want to replace it with?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion that we replace this section with compensation in the form of participation in the healthcare system. And that any members that choose not to participate in it will be paid the employee portion of the lowest tier on the healthcare system. That's reimbursement.
All right. Mr. Taylor's motion, is there a second? Fails for lack of second. I will, any other motion?
I'll try.
Go for it. If you want me to do it, I'll put one out.
No, I make a motion, and this is not exact wording, we'll need to wordsmith it, but I make a motion that we amend section 33 to allow a stipend to cover expenses incurred by the council members, and they can either use it towards expenses or participation in the health plan.
And the stipend?
The stipend would be
cover-
set each year during the budget process.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Caldarelli seconds that motion. The motion is to allow a stipend for the city council to be used by the council as they choose, and it could be used to offset their expense with the medical plan. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And Mr. Caldarelli seconded it. Mr. Beatty, your floor. You made the motion. You want to say it?
No, I think I've said it.
Someone against this?
I'm against it, but I'm going to make a comment first that, because Mr. Beatty first mentioned, before he mentioned the health care, to cover their expenses, but expenses are exempted and they are allowed to be reimbursed under the current plan.
So you would be against this motion because expenses are already?
Expenses are already exempt, but I'm against this motion because it's not what the citizens voted for.
Which is what you said last time. Ms. Kopp, you have a comment?
Expenses that are city related are currently reimbursable, but not health insurance. So they can't pay for health insurance and get reimbursed by the city. There's a transition period going on where we've allowed that till the end of the budget year, but after that, they wouldn't be allowed under the current charter.
Thank you. Someone else like to speak for this motion?
I've got a question,
Of course you do. What is it?
just for clarification, Michael. So, for example, if there's $1,000 whatever a month, and you're saying in the budget cycle, if economic times are bad, council can vote, hey, we're not going to take a supplement this year. So each year it would come up for discussion. Okay.
And that $1,000 could be used towards their expenses or
Gotcha.
towards the
Okay.
health plan.
Okay. Anyone else against?
I'm going to offer an amendment.
I do have a question for him.
Okay, Mr. Smith, 1 second.
Okay.
We'll give everybody a chance to speak first time, and then we'll come back second, okay? All right. Anyone else speak for this motion?
Ms. Cobb has a
Ms.
question.
Hopkins.
Yeah. My
Please.
question, so just to be clear, because I'm writing this down, your motion would not allow them to just take cash. It would either be to reimburse an expense or pay for health insurance.
Mm.
Okay, just making sure I got it. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Go
Can I ask
right
a question
ahead.
on that too? Sorry. So typically reimbursing the expenses, Ms. Cobb, is like, turning your receipts
Understood, yeah.
through our administrative policy.
Mhm.
So are you meaning to do away with that part and just take the place of that? Or are they
This
going
would
to continue?
this would limit that, right? Because the council would decide every budget year what the amount was going to be. Now, if it was high, they could spend whatever up to that amount and get reimbursed, but it would, if council only budgeted a certain amount and a council member expended more than what he or she could get under that allotment, then they'd be limited and wouldn't get reimbursed beyond that, under the current motion.
All right.
It'd be like I said, having us sit up here and make these motions like out of the blue and not really being able to discuss is kind of limiting.
We can discuss it, Mr. Beatty. We did discuss it, went through the first time.
I know that,
So that was under the questions. You made the motion. So if you want to do an amendment to the motion, go right ahead.
Well,
All
Mr.
right.
Smith has an amendment.
Well, when it's his turn, when everybody's had the first turn, then he'll get it. I'm surprised you don't know a little bit more about the parliamentary procedure. Anyone else like to speak for this motion that hasn't spoken already? All right, second time around, Mr. Smith.
Okay, I'd like to make an amendment to the motion that, that it include that it must receive more than 5,168 votes, which was the number of votes that, in the affirmative, that put this charter amendment.
That's not a proper motion. That's not, it's gonna have to go to there, so that's not a proper amendment. All right, anyone else? Because this is a little bit convoluted, let's vote.
Well, and that's why I said it's probably going to
Okay,
need to be
your second time
wordsmith.
through.
It's going to need to be wordsmith. It's not an exact deal because we're going to have to work out all the procedures and things like that.
So if you'll pardon me for 1 second, maybe a motion to postpone and allow this motion until the next meeting and allow them to come up with other things. The other thing that we spoke of last meeting was if you're going to make an amendment and you don't want to be complicated, write it down so we all understand it. And just, your comment is that we should just appear and just talk, which is what we started to begin with. We got down to the formal portion of doing amendments. That's where I said it'd be better if you wrote down exactly what you meant instead of just something that is, kind of a little different. So I'm going to move to postpone this item 33 until the next meeting. Second?
Second.
Mr. Holmes, second. Any discussion? I think that Mr. Beatty, what you said was definitely, but research yourself. And then Ms. Barnes and Ms. Cobb could come forward with some things based on that. All right? Anyone else? Let's vote. Motion to postpone. Okay. Passes 6-1. All right, section 34, there weren't any comments by any of the staff, but I have a question about section 34 of the attorney and maybe the clerk. My question is, first, is what special, fees are we anticipating that would need this?
At this time, I'm not aware of any.
Ms. Barnes, what would,
We all know it came up because of the fire assessment.
I got you.
So-
We certainly are aware of that.
Throw the
All right.
elephant in the room.
So, my next question is, Michael.
No, I was just
I'll
going to
let
say, this mirrors statutory language
Right.
for special assessments dealing with infrastructure improvements.
you- Okay,
Does not address non-ad valorem assessments such as fire fees.
I got it.
So,
All right. My next question would be, the way that this special assessment petition is worded, then how would that, since it says without permission of the property owners, how would they go about getting the permission of the property owners? Ms. Kyle?
How would, who go
It
about
states
getting
that
permission?
we can't, they can't do a fee without permission of the property owners.
Are you talking about if this charter amendment went away?
No, I'm talking about the way it's written right now. I got it, guys.
So under the current charter amendment, you're asking how they would get permission?
Yes.
Okay, so they would get permission by, it says petition right here, and then all the owners would be presented with this petition, right?
Right.
And then the owners would consent in a written document we would prepare.
So this would only be, as I understand, property owners.
Correct.
Okay.
Which is how infrastructure improvements.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Are we suspending Robert's rules of
No.
order for this?
No. Is there a motion? Do you have a question? Motion? So it stands. Section 35. All right, I will read. City property taxes cannot increase, this is 2 pages comments. City property taxes cannot increase by more than 3% from the last year's fiscal budget amounted by a vote of council. With a supermajority vote of 5 yes votes, city property tax revenue can be increased by 5%. And with a 6 yes vote, it can increase 5% plus the consumer price index. I wish you'd come in today to see about this, but no. Ms. Neighbors has several. You guys, I'm sure, have read through it. Preferred option is to tie this to a cap on increasing the millage rate. This will make everything below null and void. You've read all of those. Her statement in an email to me says that I have stated in prior council meetings, as the finance director, I have a fiduciary duty to take care of the citizens in the city. This amendment goes against this duty, and I worry for the future of the city of Fort Walton Beach in the next few years with the cap on general fund operating expenses and all funds and payroll. There are many expenses we cannot control, like contracts, utilities, pension, and maintenance, and many more. I can provide the increases in items like, it says chlorine, the staff cannot control at the next meeting if needed. I have provided options to amend this amendment and discuss it further in meetings. So the finance director, that you've seen what she put there. Are there any other questions?
I have a question.
All right, and for Mr. Beatty, I'm going to go ahead and suspend Robert's rules. But let's try to keep it down to something we're actually going to do instead of just rambling. All right, so go ahead, Mr. Holmes.
I'm not sure who to direct it to since finance director's here, but this has been in effect since when?
November 2024.
And has it hindered, hampered, hurt, created issues where the city council could not make decisions or had trouble working through this?
Not to my knowledge, but I think that's a question for the finance director or city
Yeah.
manager, if she's not here.
All right,
Can I make?
yeah, go ahead.
And I don't have any problem with you reading Nicole's, as a voter and a registered
Right.
voter, but with her not being here to be able to ask questions, it'd be nice if we could ask her questions in her
Right.
professional opinion. And I will just go back to the minutes of the May 20th, 25 meeting where they were discussing the implementation of the charter, and the city manager stressed that the city was already in compliance with Charter Amendment 3, but budgetary restrictions may create issues in the coming years. So
Right,
at the last meeting, the statement was, we are in compliance,
right, but may,
but may create budgetary
right,
issues in the coming year, but there's nothing specifically been determined.
right.
At a previous meeting, there's been two, and I'm not here to argue anyway, just saying what happened in a meeting. There were 2 items that's already been brought up. One was health insurance. This year it's going up 10%. And the other one is like a new purchase, or not a purchase, but a new lease, which would affect the operating. for a new product at the golf course. So
Right.
that's 2 items that's happened just in the last few months, so.
All right, I move to remove section 35. As it's written. Second?
I'll second.
All right, I move to remove section 35. I make the motion, Mr. Holmes second. There are so many things wrong with the way this is, and it's said that they're in compliance now, but future years. The same things that Ms. Barnes brought up, 10% increase in the insurance. There's so many variables, and if you go through the way it is, it's, well, if we do this, well, if we do that, if we do that. To me, you know, this is the basic job of the city council. The basic job is to make sure that the budget is squared away. The past 2 years, as far as I can remember, is that the ad valorem rate went but to the rollback rate, both years. So people didn't pay it. 4 years? Thank you, I'm going to what's for. 4 years. I don't think that the public actually knows what it means by restricting the budget. I think they think it's all about taxes, whereas their taxes have gone to the rollback rate 4 years. So I think that this should just, I mean, there's so many things you can put in there. Well, what about this or what about that? It's the council's job to set a budget that people can afford, but it doesn't have anything to do with maybe, you know, the half-cent sales tax gets better. Maybe we get more grants and things like that. It all comes up and it should be considered. I don't have any problem with the way it's gone. Let's go to the rollback rate. People save money, that's doing the same amount of money. So I think it ought to just go away and leave it up to council. Someone opposed? Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Well, first I'll point out that 9,582 of the 13,210 voters voted in this, on that particular amendment, with 60.81% voting for it. So of the remaining 3,628 voters that didn't vote, only 779 of those would need to vote for it to be impossible for the opposition to, you know, for it to go the other direction. It was.
If everyone voted the same way, right? It's the same thing you read before, so we understand your argument. You know, it would go, I will tell you that, never mind. If someone else would like to speak for
And
this.
anything, well, let me finish.
Please.
It also includes the exception of, anything can go to referendum. Anything can be done by referendum. And even the insurance issue hasn't been an issue because we haven't filled positions, or we haven't, you know, it hasn't become an issue at this point. And you know, we don't know when the, you know, what's going to happen in the future. If we may get, back to the insurance, we haven't gotten, you know, there's ways to bring the insurance down by putting it out for bid. And that's something that's been a flaw with the city in the past. I mean, I've spoken to other insurance agents that wouldn't bid again in the city's deal because they didn't feel like they had any chance of winning, because it's always gone to one company. So I think we could improve on getting that insurance down. I think there are ways to cure that. And I think there was a lot of debate about the issue with the golf course, you know, the Top Golf or whatever, it was brought up at that, and that didn't prove to be an issue. I mean, there were ways around all of that stuff, and we're only 6 months in, 6-7 months in. We haven't, you know, if it's going to be a problem 2-3 years down the road, let's come back and ask the voters. Let's fix it.
All right, anyone else speak for this motion? Go ahead.
I totally understand the intent of this motion, but I think, for lack of a better way, the way that it's been applied.
Are you talking about the section of the motion? The section.
Section.
Okay, thank you.
From the meetings I've watched and the discussions I've seen, it seems that there has been concessions or construction made of the way it is written to operate the business of the city. I think there's been multiple workshops and meetings that have been created by this. And there's 7 people up here that are to make these decisions for the city, the monetary decisions, the policies. And as the watch group showed, if you don't like the decisions that you're made, then you put people in place to do it, to run the city. I just have seen, from what I've seen, that, you know, there's been, it looks like to me like workarounds. That's not a word that I would use in a budget to make something happen that a select few or something wants to happen. And I would ask Ms. Goff if that has been the case, that somebody has said, well, that doesn't pertain to this budget since it wasn't in this budget to start with. And there's just been a lot of dissension and questions as to the effectiveness of this one. So I am for repealing it, putting the power back in the 7 council members sitting up here.
All right, someone opposed? Opposed? Someone for? I saw Mr. Beatty waving down there a while back, so go for it.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, you know, this thing is, it's a mess. I mean, I think even though it's been put in the charter, I don't think anybody knows exactly what it means. When the watch group went around and got petitions signed, this is not what the petition said. So what was put to the voters was not what the petitions, you know, people that signed. So I think removing this, and I think Mike, Minnick, you may have said this, one of the sole purposes of city council is to adopt a balanced budget every year. And that is a public process from the get-go. Thinking that you can do a referendum every year to pass a budget is not realistic. You would have to do that before you would even know half of the actual budget items. So I think this is just a mess. We know what the intent was, but in the end, if you don't like what the council's making decisions on, then every 2 years you get a chance to replace them. So.
Someone else against again? Okay, someone for, Mr. Taylor. It's flat.
I think you guys have dealt inside my brain, Mr. Beatty, and it's a dangerous place to be, but I couldn't make the comments better, and to reiterate that point is, as I know when I go, and I think I'm a typical voter, when I go to the ballot, I elect people for the city council to make the decisions for me. If I don't like the decisions they make, I don't vote for them again. Kicking the can down the road and putting it back in my lap not only increases the budget through the referendum, but to me, it's an abdication of the council's responsibilities.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Peters.
Just a couple comments, and I've said this before, and I leading up to the.
So you're speaking for this motion,
Yes,
correct?
leading up to the election and after, when I was with the city, it took over the daily operations of the city, the discussions, and anything that you want to do as a city. It said, well, what about this? And it totally, as far as running a city and getting things done in the city, this discussion and the budget cap kind of took over everything. It's taken over the council discussion. And I said this when we had meetings, with the watch group, Nicole and I had made a comment that, that's the reason that council members are elected. If they're making bad decisions and the budget's blowing up, then we get new council members as a city. It's their duty to do that. If you don't like the decision, and it's happened in the past. I mean, that's the way some things has happened. So I firmly believe it does fall on the council. But there's so many exceptions in this that it's convoluted to where it's very difficult to kind of understand the whole budget process and go throughout the year with different exceptions and some. So I do support this, and I do think it falls on the council to make those decisions.
Mr. Calderelli?
I agree.
Okay, that's good. Anyone else?
Do I get second round?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Go for it.
Well, first off, this doesn't require a referendum for every budget. it would only require a referendum if you exceeded the cap that's put in place. And I'll make it clear that the Supreme Court, I understand y'all's position that these 7 people are the ones up here making the decision, but the Supreme Court has made clear that the citizens have the right to give these 7 people whatever authority they choose, and they can reserve for themselves any authority to go beyond that. So I understand, and y'all have always felt this way, that these 7 people should be making the decision, but the citizens have said that in this case, that they're reserving for themselves. If you exceed the 3%, that they get to come back and have a veto on that, or have a say in that. And that's Supreme Court law. That's all.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Second time through. Please vote.
I would like one more.
Okay, go ahead.
The last thing, I'll say this, that I talked to a lot of people even after the election, and a lot of people thought that they would get, their taxes would be lowered based on this passing.
Right.
And when you said, no, it's not, that your taxes are based on the millage rate, they're like, oh, I didn't know that. So I do think that, and that's everybody, that's the employees, the people that voted against it, the people that voted for it. I don't think that it was explained well enough to everybody how the taxpayer would be affected on that.
Okay. Anyone else? Mr. Ted,
One more
second
quick
time
thing.
through.
Maybe to ease your mind a little bit, they're going to get a second bite at the apple here if we make a decision to do away with this, citizens are. But I think they'll be better informed, like I said before. I don't think if you put a couple of sentences on a referendum that they fully understand the impact of the decision being made. I agree with Mr. Beatty, what was put on the ballot, this is a major word salad that in some places doesn't have anything to do with it, in my opinion. So I do believe going through a second bite of the apple, may be better informed through this process, if nothing else. I differ with you. I think it would fail miserably if people understood the consequences of this section.
Anyone else? Mr. Holmes.
I would like to reiterate Mr. Peters' observations, or from what his experiences were, and my observations, that has created a tremendous amount of additional work for the staff in trying to manipulate around to stay within this. I think the comment about, we were underneath the 3%, it has nothing to do with trying to be there. It just happened because of the way the budget was going. I think that even some conversations with some of the staff has said, no, that was not the correct statement. That statement was construed. So again, I agree with Mr. Peters that it has totally hampered the operation of the city and has taken way too much time and involvement trying to deal with this the way it was presented in the past. It was not the original intent. It was nowhere near what the petition that the voters or the public signed. But it was the one that the council, the city council sitting at that time, wordsmithed the petitions and put them on the amendment. So again, absolutely, it was not the intent of the petitions that was presented to. It was the group of council that were sitting here, and that's their right to do that. But it was not the intent of the petitions that were signed by the voters. So that's why I'm against this.
I'd like to make a comment on that.
No, you've already had your two, but I will say something. It may not have been on the petitions, and this is my second time through, but it was what city council sent to the voters, and it was what the voters voted on. So, I agree with, it wasn't what the petitions say, but there was a whole lot on the petitions that the petitions were thrown out. That's neither here nor there. The council, whatever, it doesn't really matter. The council, this is what they sent, and this is what the people voted on. So, as far as what the petition said, at this point, it's really immaterial. All right, everybody through twice, please vote.
Could you repeat the motion?
To
Good, let me
yes,
make-
to what you were just voted on?
I haven't voted yet.
Section 35. Well, 6-1. Kind of figured that was going to happen, right? All right. All right, so in review, we have sent item 30, or section 33, for further review. Now, I will remind you that you're free to go and speak with any staff people you want on that. And if you want to make a motion, make it a full motion, write it down before you come, so that there is no confusion as to what's going to go on. But again, you know, I understand what the kind of the intent was. We kind of lost it. So that one's coming back. And then all of the other things, and I'm not really sure how many there were, that we referred to the attorney and the city clerk. From speaking with the city clerk, they said that they would need, Ms. Barnes said that they would need about another month to put those back together.
Yeah, you have been actively working on it, and that is a good time.
Okay, so what we're going to do at the next meeting is that all those things, this one, section 33, which was postponed, and all the other ones that we referred to the clerk will come to us again. Now, I would ask, in addition, since we had 36 motions in the last meeting, that we could have a record of those and how the vote went. Would that be?
Yeah, I hope that we can finish it maybe in about 2 weeks,
Oh, yeah.
so that we can get it to you all to review, so we're not handing it to you at the meeting. So you
Right,
get to
well,
study it.
no, we need at least a week. We will need at least a week to review.
You'd
Similar.
have two under that plan.
Right.
We'd take 2 more weeks, then send it to you. You'd have 2
Third
weeks,
one.
then we'd have a meeting.
All right, so what would be, let's look at July. Tell me what your availability is. Ms. Kopp, I understand you had some issues.
I am away until the 16th.
The 16th. All right, guys, let's look at your calendars for days that you will be able
Which
to.
is a month anyway, so.
Which is right out of 1 month. Anybody else? I mean, city council's not meeting in July, right?
That's correct.
That's
They have
correct.
one workshop. don't they?
It's the 8th.
The 8th.
The 8th, okay. Anyone have any conflicts with the 16th? I have no idea. It's a month out. I don't want to do it tomorrow.
What about, can I make a suggestion to you all? Since you were, I don't know, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
What about if you kept it, I know we met on Friday today, but originally you were doing Tuesdays. What about Tuesday, the 22nd?
I prefer Tuesdays or Thursdays.
You prefer?
Tuesdays or Thursdays.
All right, so how about if everybody's agreement on the 22nd?
I can't make it.
God damn it.
Is July,
Tuesday, the 29th?
again, is that enough time for y'all? I know there's a lot
Yep.
with
There
striking.
is a lot.
Trust me, there's a lot.
Tuesday, 29th? It's not going to go to council before then anyway.
No, you guys. you
Because they're
may
not
take-
meeting.
Right.
That's plenty of time.
29th?
29th, you can't make it? Well, all right, so you can't make Tuesdays, is that the deal?
Not those two in July.
How about Thursday the 31st?
Well, how about coming up with something?
What about Wednesday, July 30th? Or Wednesday, July
You
23rd?
can't do that either?
Nope.
Well, why don't you make a suggestion
31st?
after the 16th? You know,
I mean, we already had one on the calendar for the 15th, but I know
She can't
Kim
make
Cobb
that.
can't make
Right.
it, so
How about the 17th?
I could do the 17th.
17th.
I can't do the 17th.
I think this
How about the
the
18th?
extra 2 weeks.
18th going once?
July the
or
30th.
twice?
18th
That's
is
okay.
fine.
I could do the 24th of July, which is a Thursday.
I could too.
All right, 24th, 1, 2,
That's okay with me, I just want to make sure Ms. Barnes gets
24th,
copies.
Yeah, that's fine.
24th it is. What time? What time? Yeah.
I'm gonna say no, just to.
Oh, shit.
You want 2 p.m. like we
2
started?
o'clock?
2 p.m. would be fine.
On the
I
24th.
hate getting up early.
The finance director cannot be here on the 24th.
You cannot?
That's
Vacation?
Who? Oh.
She's out July 22 to 26.
Did you,
Let me ask about Thursday, July 31st. No? Okay.
No. No.
Friday, the 18th.
Good.
I can't.
Fridays don't work well here because we have
I'm
to
gonna
pay
change
extra
one
for the
thing.
recording and everything.
Okay.
I mean, that's,
Lord,
This is hard. It's good.
we had more
Did
problems
we
with
look
section
at Monday,
35.
the 21st?
I would good there?
I'm out that week.
No.
I'm out basically the last 2
This
weeks.
is why we don't have July meetings.
When's the next council meeting? 5th? August?
August 5th is when we had our following meeting scheduled.
We could just wait for August 5th, that would give Kim and I time to really work on it.
I mean, we already have it on the calendar, so.
Yeah.
All right, the same time, 2 o'clock?
Is that okay with you, Kim?
Works for me.
That's it. August 5th,
That's already scheduled for me.
Yeah.
right? Anything else? Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.